What's up, guys? It's your boy Jones.
And I'm Man. And tonight we are in our quarantine spaces and we are jonesing on Herradura Ultra. All right, Jones, this is crazy. This is a little bit weird. I guess the whole world is kind of experiencing something that they've never experienced before. But we're not gonna let the show stop. We're not gonna let our Joneses down. We're gonna keep giving them hot episodes. So we're gonna do this thing kind of virtually and see how it goes. This
Yeah.
is this is the Herradura Ultra, which I actually fell in love. Well, I've had it before. I'm gonna let the cat out the bag. I found it when I was in Greenville. A friend of mine kind of had a taste. I was like, okay, this is pretty good. And I had four or five other ones, and I was like, ooh,
And you
I
fell
really
in love. You had 4 or 5 others and fell in love.
fell in love. I was like, okay, well, maybe sometimes on them good nights you fall in love with something, and it's always a good idea to kind of revisit and see if you really love it. So this is a fifth, and we'll take them out the boxes. Um, I paid 50 something for the first one, and as you said, I said the first one, and the second one was like North Carolina was like 50 something. Ended up being about 60 bucks. What about
Yeah.
you, Jones?
Same here. I paid $60.
Okay. And this is an actual añejo
That's been filtered. Yeah.
that's been filtered to be clear. So before I give a little spiel on that, what can you tell us about Herradura?
Well, I actually saw on their website this is their 150-year anniversary of the tequila. It started out in 1870. So yeah, it's pretty old brand. Pretty exciting. Can't wait to taste the juice.
Okay. Trying to
Yeah,
get.
as you can tell, in quarantine, I haven't had a lot of time to do research. So, I'm just more excited about trying to hit some juice.
I know that's right. I'm all for that team. Hold
Now,
on.
the one thing I did notice was they made a note of before it is filtered, they tend to add a little bit of agave nectar. So how do you think that's going to affect the overall taste?
I think the agave is added after the fact.
It's after it's
It's
filtered.
after it's filtered. So there's been a few. They dub it. I'm make sure I try to say it right. Cristalino. There's been a few Cristalinos that we have tried before. We
Mm.
tried Dobel Master
Yeah,
Dobel Diamante. We'll get it right.
yeah,
Maestro. You know what I'm saying.
yeah.
That
I
is
understand what you're saying.
a Cristalino. They don't call it. They call it the Diamante. But that is the same process where they filter. I think where Herradura is a little bit different is they add the agave nectar into it, which honestly agave nectar is sweeter. So I think automatically you can expect a little more sweetness from this tequila than you might run into on your average one. And there's a
So you're
whole
basically saying you can expect me not to enjoy this.
Well, that's. I mean, there's a good chance of that. But I really, really have enjoyed it. So I'm gonna open mine up and go ahead and pour me one too. We're gonna do the same thing that we've always done, which is house rules. We're gonna pour us a couple neat pours, and we're gonna pour us on the rocks pour, and we're gonna basically taste it and tell you what you think. So before I go into that whole big conversation about Crystalinos, I think we should just taste it and kind of go from there, and then we'll discuss how or the place of Crystalinos in the network. The other thing I wanted to add was one thing about Herradura is it's got a horseshoe on the bottle, on every bottle. Like I got an añejo, a regular añejo, so that's a
Is
big
that the
difference.
same añejo bottle?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow!
Um, so the horseshoe, they say the horseshoe upside down is technically bad luck. but pouring it up is good luck, right?
Yeah, so it's bottoms up.
So pouring it is giving you good luck. So
That's
I thought
right.
that was a cool little thing too. So let's do what we do and kind of take a good whiff. I think it smells. It's a real vanilla-y. There's a hint of alcohol if you try and get in there pretty deep.
Yeah, if you try to get too deep, there is some alcohol there. What is the proofage on this?
This is 100% blue agave, and it is, I think it's
For
40.
80
Yeah,
proof,
yeah, 80
40%
proof.
alcohol.
Yep.
So that's not too
It's
tall.
yeah, it's real deal. It's real deal. So
Yeah.
let's now I don't know what side we're gonna be on, so I think I'm gonna go on this side and you go on the other side. Clink 'em and drink 'em?
How about I just clink to the side that I normally sit on?
Okay. I think if you do the other side, it'll work. Do the other side.
I do the other side.
Yep.
All
Clink 'em
right, we
and
should be
drink 'em.
clean. You want to go ahead and put them on the rocks?
Yep. I already got mine on the rocks.
Slick move. I didn't catch that one.
So what are your initial thoughts?
Smells really clean. You do get some of a little bit of the aging notes. Like I said, a little bit of the vanilla, a little bit of sweetness to it, but I can't tell what the sweetness is on the nose. When I taste it, I definitely get vanilla. I don't get too much tequila though.
Well, when you say tequila, you think like the typical agave kind of forwardness, and I don't think it's not as bold in the agave flavor, but you do get a little like earthy kind of grassy note there,
Yeah.
which is familiar with agave type spirits. Um, let's go ahead and taste our neat pour. I mean, our on the rocks pour. So I think it's this way. Clink 'em and drink 'em. Yeah. Initial thoughts?
I didn't get a lot of change.
Okay.
A lot of the same notes. Surprisingly enough, even though they added the agave nectar, it's not overly sweet.
Yeah.
It's not overly sweet, and it's fairly decent. Now I'm running it back to maybe the Dobel that I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Dobel has a little bit more character, but it's also a little bit sweeter. Um, like like this is almost like drinking a vodka where you can't really tell exactly because it's very clean. It doesn't have that heavy agave
Right.
that you're used to when you take that shot of tequila, which is not bad.
Right.
And just like they promote it as being very smooth, yeah, it does go down at 80 proof. And you'll probably laugh, and most of the Joneses will laugh, but at the most of the bourbons that I tend to like and enjoy are bottled in bond and or at least 100 proof. 80 is kind of a walk in the park.
Yeah.
So that, you know.
And 80 is kind of weak in comparison.
Yeah.
Well, so do you want to rate it?
Overall, I would actually give it a 3.75, maybe a 4.
Okay. Good. I think it's got a little bit of sweetness in there. When you read agave nectar added, I kind of feel like, oh, it's gonna be overly sweet, but I think you still get a little heat when you drink it. So I think there's a nice balance that happens between the agave, because I still get a little agave note. It's not overly aggressive, because you it's a little grassy earthy undertone. It's a but the vanilla comes in there and kind of softens that palate. The heat comes in, and then the little bit of sweetness levels that out a little bit. I think it's a really nice blend of everything. So that makes me say, well, I'll give you my rating right off the bat. I give
I
it
know your rating is a 5.
I give it a 5. And the reason why I give it a 5 is because I like the way that all of these things go together. I have finished the bottle, so I know how I feel the next day.
Mm.
I compare this to a Clase Azul, which is $100 for the repo,
Mm.
500 for four something for the añejo. And honestly, and if you haven't seen the episode, I tried all three. Honestly, I would choose this over Clase Azul. Um, I definitely would choose it over the Repo, and I would choose it over the Añejo if for nothing more than the price. Because I mean, it's not cheap, but 50, $60 is not bad. Tequila's one of the more I think I put tequila kind of with Sprite. Not with Sprite, with Scotch. With I put tequila up with Scotch. Scotch is normally, dirt cheap or really expensive.
Yeah.
And everything in the middle is normally like, eh. Same thing with tequila. There's a couple of tequilas that are pretty lower end on the pricing that are still okay, but then you have this big jump in pricing that you have to go to spend to get a decent tasting tequila that won't make you feel bad the next day.
Right.
Um,
So, with that said, my question is, so with tequila being very similar to Scotch,
mhm.
I'll tell anybody. For me, I don't think you can find a very good Scotch below $80. I've heard people say, I think it's Deltmore or Dillmore,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that's normally around 60, $70, but I haven't had a chance to pick any up and try it. But like I said, until for most scotches, if you're not in that 80 and above range, you're probably not a true scotch drinker.
Right.
Not knocking. I mean, and it does speak to everyone's budget, but Scotch are you're normally a pretty high drinker. So for tequila, what do you think that doorway is? Is that doorway at $50, or is it something higher?
I kind of feel like, see, from now, already, I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there. The tequila aficionados of the world are gonna kill me. And that's okay, because I drink what I enjoy, and I tell everybody, as long as you're paying for it, if you enjoy it, drink it. The only thing that we try and do is give our honest opinion and kind of open the spectrum and open the door to say, hey, here's what we think about this. This might be a good idea to try. Here's what we don't, that. So I'm not gonna preach to the choir in that aspect. I feel like when you get 50, $60, the tequila is, while that is kind of like um, the entry level point for really good tequila, um, you are taking a gamble at everything that you buy below that. So I think 50, 60 is probably where that's at. Because if I think about, I like Suerte. Suerte is probably around that neighborhood. But you're also thinking too, are you talking añejo, or are you talking blanco or plata?
Yeah, and I
Um,
love añejos.
yeah. So Dobel is $40, $50, somewhere in that neighborhood. Some
Yeah,
places I've seen 60. So you're at that neighborhood, and I enjoy that tequila a lot. The Clase Azul, which in the tequila aficionado world, that's the hated tequila because there's additives and things of that sort. But that may be true. I just personally think it's well done and I enjoy it. But we also have some tequilas like I've got G4, which is held in high regard. We haven't opened it and haven't tried it yet, but I'm hoping that we'll get to do that in the future. But I'm trying to think of what else tequila was. Now I always say Sparkle Donkey was one of my favorites. I love the Repo. I got the Repo for like $15. But I will say that it's been, like at the beginning of this quarantine kind of spiel that I was drinking the rest of my Repo bottle and I noticed that I had a headache the next day. And I don't know whether but I mean, maybe, it changes with time. But I probably went through 6 to 8 bottles of that. But I did notice that the last time I had some. So that kind of threw me off a little bit. I enjoyed it while I was drinking it, but I did have somewhat of a headache the next day. It wasn't like a hangover kind of deal, but just like a kind of like a blah kind of feeling. Yeah. So I think there's something to be said for excuse me, additives can give you an undesired effect. But for me, this right here, I've been through my first bottle, haven't had any problems, and I'm gonna go through this bottle. I enjoy it. I like the taste. I like the way it makes me feel afterwards. The price is good. I'm okay with a Cristalino.
Okay, good deal.
I heard a question. The question was, what happens with this is they take an añejo. They and the añejo has that barrel aging that happens. It soaks up that good color. It soaks up good flavor. And what they do in order to create this is they filter that out. Now, in order to filter that out, of course, you're gonna get you got to get all the color out. But stands to reason that you're gonna get some flavor out too. So the question is, are Cristalinos a bad thing? Because you've taken what was a good tequila, or maybe it was a bad tequila to start with, and that's why you did that process in order to get a good tequila. But let's say you took a good tequila and stripped some of the flavor and stuff out. Is that sacrilegious?
I wouldn't say sacrilegious. I would say it's more so cornering a market because most añejos, you would tend to compare those to a bourbon.
Yeah.
Right. So if you can get some of that barrel aging and the taste from that in your tequila, but you still have the clear appearance, a lot of people will go into the store because most people think brown liquor is for older people. So
it depends on the group, but yeah.
Most young kids will think, well, that's what I saw my dad drink. That's what I saw my uncles drink. Associating brown with the older people, not necessarily what that taste would be.
Right.
Whereas if you have a clear liquor, most people associate that with parties and mixed drinks and so on and so forth. So now what you're doing is you're cornering that market of, hey, I'll get it and I won't know it's an añejo. And you'll still have some of those people that do enjoy añejos buying this to say, hey, I still get a lot of the barrel aging flavors that I do like in my añejos.
Yep. Okay. So I kind of agree with you. I go back to drink what you like. I think that there's I think there's a market for it. I've had Don Julio 70, and that's a Cristalino, yeah. And I think that was good. I'm sure that there's a ton more, but I don't knock it. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I always say, the best liquor is the liquor that you like.
That's right, for sure. I like
it. It
that.
doesn't matter what anyone else says.
The best liquor is the liquor that you like. I like that. So cool. I'm gonna be breaking into this some more for sure.
Yeah, I'll probably drink a little more and get more of the notes. When I sniffed it a little later, I got more of those. I got a sweeter smell, not necessarily grassy, but more of a like a sweetness.
Yeah.
Like a candied.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely going to be a little more tasting, and maybe even pairing with a good old cigar.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure.
Yeah. Quarantine,
Yeah.
you might as well enjoy yourself.
Might as well.
Smoke up some.
Everybody's doing well out there. I hope y'all are doing good. I hope you're staying safe.
Yeah.
Washing your hands. Stay safe at home. A big shout out to all the essential employees that
Yes.
are
Thank you guys.
going to work every day. Your nurses, your doctors.
Hey, I'm thinking the garbage man.
You better believe it.
We laugh, but thank you guys so much for all that you do. Thank you for keeping us going.
Yep, for sure. So I guess I'll make some notes to just, if you get a chance, go ahead and follow us on Instagram at Jones and Mann. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter. And I think I got one down here for Facebook. At Jones and Mann. I guess this has been another episode of Jones and Mann.
Yeah, quarantine edition.
Quarantine. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, guys.